Hey folks, Kerry here with 401k Dexter's. Out running an errand, so thought I would jump on here and give you a quick video of one of my retirement idols. We should all have someone that we look up to, or some examples of people that we look up to, so we have good habits either to get to retirement or while we're in retirement. And one of my retirement idols was my mother-in-law. God rest her soul. Marilyn passed away in early 2020. It was right before COVID hit, and she had been not doing well for quite some time. We moved her in and lived with us for probably the last 6 to 8 months of her life. She had taken a couple tumbles, fallen down a couple times. We got worried about her health, so we moved her in, and she spent her last days with us and passed away in the hospital. Marilyn was a young bride. She married a high school sweetheart. He joined the Navy, and they moved off to New Orleans from Lincoln, Nebraska. They tried to have kids for several years, and back then you would only know that you were pregnant when you killed the rabbit, and she could never kill the rabbit after trying for a few years, and the doctor said, we just don't know if you're going to be able to have a baby or not. And then one day she went in and she told the doctor, she said, well, I think I'm pregnant. And he said, well, we ran the test and you didn't kill the rabbit, so it's probably all in your head. Small framed woman. She never really showed it, I guess, and right up until the last month did she even look pregnant. But Linda was an only child, and Marilyn was happy with her. My wife's dad, Robert, passed away when Linda was 4 years old, so it left Marilyn as a young widow. It was tough on her, of course, as it would be with anybody, but she packed Linda up and moved back home to Lincoln to be close to family and to start her life over. She had worked up to that time, but started taking small secretarial jobs and ultimately ended up as a school principal secretary and flourished in that job and in that function. And her co-workers would later say that they didn't know how the school would run without her. She ended up remarrying a high school friend so Linda would have a father figure. I don't think so much for love as it was for companionship. That relationship lasted until my wife graduated high school and they ended up getting divorced. Marilyn was still in that administrative assistant role, yet she still managed to save and put money away, and only started after her second husband divorced. Her legacy wealth that she passed on to my wife ended up being mostly in real estate. She would take a home that she ended up paying off there in Lincoln and sold it when we moved us out, or she followed us and moved out to Colorado. When I changed jobs and moved from Colorado down to Texas the first time, she sold her house. She wanted to be a close grandma and followed us down to Texas. She ended up paying paid the house off in full because the sale of her home in Colorado. And she did that 2 more times, following us back to Colorado and then back down here to Texas when I came down and transferred to the L3 Harris Corporation facility down here in Northeast Texas. Each time those houses increased in value, and ultimately the house that she left Linda in 2020, when we sold it, paid for our property that we refer to as our homestead. and we were able to pay for that free and clear. Marilyn also saved and had a small IRA. Unfortunately, she wasn't given very good financial advice. The only financial advisor she sought out was through her bank, and to his ultimate wisdom, the guy that gave her advice told her just put money in a CD. So she had laddered CDs that would roll over, and every time they would come due and pay out, she would roll them back in. And through that way, she built up a small IRA that she was able to leave Linda. Linda now has that inherited IRA at Jazz Wealth, along with an old 401k and one of my older 401ks. Marilyn was the ultimate list maker, and that's how Linda inherited that trait from her. She was also very organized. I would tease her that she was very particular because she liked things very organized. One example is when we would go on vacation, she would break out several envelopes. One envelope would pay for the gas for the car. Another envelope would pay for the parking. Another envelope would pay for a hotel. Another envelope would be meal for the first night. Another envelope would be meal for the second night, and so forth. She was just very organized and made her money go for exactly what she intended it to do. That carried over into her savings. When she retired, she didn't have a pension, but she did get Social Security. She also applied for spousal benefits from her second husband because he had worked for 20 some odd years for an electrical company there in Lincoln, and even after he passed away, she continued to get that spousal benefit. She was very frugal. She didn't spend money trying to keep up with the Joneses. When she went and bought a car, she didn't get all the bells and whistles on the car. She just got the basic model because that's all she needed. She lived under her means, and Social Security provided the ability for her to pay all of her bills and still have money to put away. Every year she put away a Christmas club and would give Linda spending money at the end of the year. Up until she passed away, she still had an envelope that was marked Christmas Fund. And I remember going through her things and breaking down crying when we ran across those envelopes that she had marked specifically with a purpose written on the outside of the envelope. So, Marilyn, up in heaven, thank you for being a good example of how to live frugally in retirement, how to spend money wisely in retirement, and helping us by passing on your legacy wealth. Love you, Mom. You guys have a good weekend. 401k Dexters out.